How's it going, guys? Welcome back to Clocks on the Stove, Wednesday, December 23rd. You got your usual host, myself, Grayson Fisher, co-host Roland Big Meech Forrester.
What
And
up?
then I guess we're really excited to bring on DJ Bien-Aime. He works for the New York Daily News and he's the beat writer for the New York Jets. DJ, thanks for coming on today, man. We really appreciate it.
I appreciate y'all having me on, man. How y'all guys doing today?
Doing amazing, man.
Yeah,
Doing amazing.
yeah, doing
Unlike the
well.
Jet
So
season, though.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, it's a rough life being a Jets fan. But I think we got some promise. I just heard that Brandon Echols just got named Rookie of the Week. That,
yep.
that's true. Yeah, so that's pretty big news. He had a pretty big game against Miami. I love to hate on the Dolphins. I know, aren't you a Dolphins fan?
Yeah, that I am. That I am.
Yeah. I didn't hate the Dolphins until I moved to South Florida and I went to a Dolphins game. I remember I was sitting in the end zone and a snap went over Sam Darnold's head for a safety. And I was in the Dolphins season ticket holder section. And that was the moment that I hated. I just started despising Dolphins fans. So sorry, guys. But it's always a good rivalry, Miami and the Jets, even though we both have our struggles. But
Yeah,
I'll get right into some questions. I got.
Right.
Yeah, before we dive a little deeper, just so everyone understands the background. So, like we said, DJ works for the New York Daily News, covers the Jets. You were a Division I track athlete at the University of Louisville, and then went on to study journalism at Columbia, and from South Florida. So, one thing I was talking to Roland about before we started was like, how did you get involved with the Jets, being a South Florida boy? Like, I know you went to Columbia and all, but like, did you have a preference, or you were kind of just waiting on whatever door opened up for you?
Um, yeah, I mean, after I graduated from Columbia, it was just basically like waiting on an opportunity. I mean, I was covering high school sports in northern Florida, St. Augustine, Florida, like an hour south from Jacksonville. And then like I was just reporting, doing my thing for a couple of months, and I broke a really big story regarding Black Lives Matter in the area. And then after that, there was somebody that had an opening at the New York Daily News. So, they interviewed me, and I basically, sold them on how I would approach the beat, and that was something that they were looking for. And I got the job. I mean, to be honest, I didn't expect to be at this point, this quote unquote early into my career. I've only been out of grad school since like May 2020. I didn't expect to be at this point, but you know, it's kind of how life works. You feel me? So here I am now. I didn't really. The only team I would never want to cover is the Dolphins, but everybody else,
Is there a reason for that? I mean, aren't you a Dolphins fan?
yeah, I don't. You don't want to be a fan of the team that you have to objectively cover. There's nothing fun about that. Being a fan is fun, like the ups and downs of like
Mhm.
all the emotions, the roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? Like there's some entertainment within that, even if it can be a little miserable at times. Like when they were 1-7, like it was terrible. Just reading up on the stuff, but now they've won 6 games in a row, and that roller coaster is what kind of makes it fun. And having to objectively cover that wouldn't be fun for me. So
Yeah, that would be a conflict of interest. There's some
exactly.
journalism schooling right there.
There you go.
Yeah, I didn't go to Columbia, but FAU, we got a good program down there for journalism, so that's cool.
Yeah.
So, uh, yeah, I got some questions about this week's game. I wanted to pick your brain. Pretty big game. Bo's already made the commercial. I don't know if you saw it, Zach Wilson and Trevor Lawrence, where Zach's throwing on the Bose headphones and he's like, yeah, I can't wait to play against Trevor Lawrence. So it's kind of like a hyped up game, but it's also a toilet bowl. And it kind of can have some implications for the future because Detroit just stunned the Cardinals. And if they win another game and the Jets lose out, they have a chance at the #1 pick. So I saw on Twitter, there's a lot of fans that are like, want to root against the Jets. I've never been for that personally. I don't see how, like, I'd rather them demolish the Jaguars and get the 3rd pick rather than get the 1st pick any
Right.
day of the week. You know what I mean? But like, I see the debate to that. What do you think about that? What's your,
So like it makes sense from a front office standpoint. Like if you're thinking like a front office guy, like you want to get a higher pick because you can get a better player, get a blue chip guy. But in reality, like everybody wants to win for the Jets. Like the players want to win, the coaches want to win, the front office wants to win. Like, yeah, you know, you get a number one pick, you can get a guy like Aiden Hutchinson or Kayvon Thibodeau. But again, like if you end up with a number one pick, that means you have a lot of issues on your team, like a lot of issues. You'd rather win some games and help continue to quote unquote, you know, cliches, build that culture and continue to lay down that foundation and learning how to win in December because I mean, to be honest, like the NFL, like the first few weeks of the season, they matter, but they don't matter, right? It's all about who's playing well late down the stretch of the season. And like next year, the Jets expect to contend for the playoffs. So this experience of being able to play December football is paramount towards building that morale and that chemistry and that you know leadership and teaching everybody how to play and perform late down the season. So I mean, I understand both sides. Obviously, I put the poll out, and you know, I got like 65% of fans want to win, and 35, you know, want the pick. But overall, though, I stand with people like you who want to win because at the end of the day, you know, losing doesn't like the day. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah, I mean, it's kind of a meaningless game, but I mean, it's also another opportunity, like you said, for Zach Wilson to go out there and do his thing. I
Also,
actually went,
sorry.
my bad. I actually went to the Tennessee game where he lit it up, and that was pretty cool to see in person. But you know, he's kind of had a rocky season, but so has every rookie quarterback, and he arguably has had the best season out of any rookie quarterback in the league. You can argue that.
Mac Jones.
Oh well, okay, he's an exception. I don't talk about the
right.
Patriots, but yeah. Besides Mac Jones and the Belichick robot system over there, I think with the cards that Wilson's dealt, he hasn't done too poorly. What's your like overall evaluation of this rookie year so far?
I think you know he's played a lot like a rookie overall. You know, the ups and downs. You know, we become so enamored with the Joe Burrows and the Justin Herberts of the world, and Baker his first year, and Kyler his first year, that we kind of forget the overarching development that comes with quarterbacks. So I think he's played a lot like a rookie. You know, it's just right now it's that balance of, you know, not obviously you can't expect Joe Burrow and Justin Herbert and Baker his first year and like Dak and of the worlds, but you know, like there is some middle ground where it's like you do want Zach to play better in a sense of like what he's producing right now isn't comforting for most Jet fans, you know, because like, you know, I just wrote an article about where he's improved and I really had to like dive really, really deep to find the improvements. But there have been improvements since he's come back from his injury. And at the end of the day, you want to see that improvement, you know. So, you know, there's that balance of he's a rookie, but you know, you do still want him to play better, but you don't want him to play like you don't have to expect him to play like a Burrow or Justin Herbert and things like that. So it's kind of room in between. So you know, we're just trying to see Zach continue to develop to get more to that middle ground. You know, because I mean, to start out, it wasn't great, obviously, but
Yeah,
overall, though, he's played like a typical rookie.
Yeah, so
I agree.
I like what you said with that, and I kind of want to combine that with what you were saying earlier about the morale aspect versus the pick. I feel like when it comes to a team, and obviously I'm not a Jets fan, nor do I cover the Jets like you guys, but from an outsider point of view, when you're looking at the Jets, I feel like they're a team right now where that number one pick, I don't think is as important to them winning 2 to 3 more games this season, or the 2 games they have left, excuse me. I think that's going to do better for them than I think it's better for the Jets to drop a couple of draft picks, maybe 2 or 3, but finish the season strong than vice versa, because I feel like that's going to give more a morale booster. You're talking about what's his name, Wilson playing like a rookie. You know, you see it a lot in the high school and college level of freshmen coming in. The psychological aspect is there.
Right.
You know, Wilson has the tools. He has the cannon. You know, we saw it at BYU when he was more comfortable. And I think that winning these games and getting that morale, yeah, you might not get your Thibodeau, or you might not get your Aiden Hutchinson or one of those guys. You're still going to get a super quality guy at a 3 to 5 pick. Let's be honest. There's a 3 to 5 pick in the first round. It's going to be a quality guy. And at the same time, your morale of your young quarterbacks can be better, and the team morale is going to be better. And I think that's more beneficial for this team currently than a higher draft pick. And that's just my opinion.
I agree with
Yeah,
that.
and the Jets, they also have Seattle's pick for Jamal Adams, and that's a whole different story. That's pretty crazy how that worked out.
Yeah, I agree.
Like on Twitter, a lot of Jets fans like they hate on Jamal Adams. He was probably one of my favorite Jets. You know, I don't agree with the way he got out of there, but he was a great player. I love to watch him play. It's kind of sad to see what's going on with him in Seattle, how he's not playing up to par. He gets roasted a lot, but yeah, so I don't know where that pick's going to fall. That has a lot of fluctuation. So there's still a lot of, you know, mysteries, even with 2 weeks left in the season. So it's still, even at 3-10, it's still an exciting journey to be a Jets fan, to say the least.
And to add on to you guys' point about the morale thing, right? Like, you know, if they drop a couple of draft spots and they don't get, you know, Aiden Hutch or Kayvon Thibodeau, or AE, and if you reverse it and say like they do end up getting one of those guys, at the end of the day, for the Jets to pop and become like a legitimate playoff contender, it's gonna still come down to Zach playing well. So if he wins, you know, if he starts to show some legitimate signs of progress, he can carry that momentum into the offseason. You know what I'm saying? Like that matters a lot more than, you know, them being able to get a Kayvon Thibodeau or Aiden Hutchinson, which those guys would truly make a legitimate difference on the defense. But as you said, Grayson, you mentioned the fact that you can still be able to get a quality player at number 5. And you still have, and as you mentioned, Ronald, you still be able to get a pick. You still be able to get a good player with the Jamal Adams first round pick from Seattle. So, you know, you guys are all on the money when you discuss all those things.
Yeah, and like you're saying too, like also think about it from like, so we're thinking about it from the perspective of the Jets, right? Think about it as the perspective of the draft pick. If you're the number 1 draft pick and you're going there, you're like, dude, they had the opportunity to get 5 wins this year, but they shit the bed at the end. Oh man, now I have to go into that. Versus, oh yeah, we only got 4 to 5 wins this year, but they turned it up at the end, showing that there's progression there. I'm ready to go play for the Jets. You know, you don't want to get a young kid who his whole life he's thought about winning a Super Bowl. He's thought about, you know, winning the MVP of the league, and then putting him with a team that he thinks that'll never happen. You know, it's just going to cause issues with the team and with the organization and the player, rather than a kid that's excited. Like, you know, the Jets are right there. I could be the piece to make them go over, you know, and that's a big thing you hear about with Baker and the Browns. You hear it all the time. Like, yeah, Baker might not be the best, but look what he did. He brought them out of that hump. And you want to build the driving way to the hump, and then get the kid to get them over there, you know, and that's going to be a lot easier with the high momentum and morale.
Agreed.
Yeah, I agree with that. But like I like what DJ said. It really does come down to the quarterback play. In the NFL, it's such a quarterback-driven league as opposed to any other level of football. It's really, you look at any good team, most likely they have a solid quarterback, or at least serviceable. Like, name one quarterback. Probably Rex Grossman is the worst quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl,
Right.
or to be in a Super Bowl rather. So yeah, it really does come down to how Wilson develops, and you know, I think they have the tools with the rookies around them. We'll see. I'm excited for next season. Do you think they can make the jump to the playoffs next year, DJ? Or you think it's too soon? Yeah,
Absolutely.
I think so too.
Yeah. I mean, think about it. The Cardinals were on the cusp of going to the playoffs last year after they started at like 4-12. They went like 5-11 or 4-12 or something like that. And they were on the cusp. Last game, win, you're in. Dolphins 19-20, 19, 5-11, 20. They were one game out, win, and you're in. They lost the last game. But like, you know, like the Bengals were, I think they picked in the top 5, and now they're continuing to win the AFC North. So of course, like the NFL, you could turn things around fast.
Yeah,
I
it's much
agree.
easier to flip a program in the NFL than it is in college. Way easier.
Quick
Yeah,
question.
because
Hey, sorry guys. So as you guys know, DJ covers the New York Jets, and Zach Wilson just went live, so he had to step out for a second. But we're back. Um, actually have a question for both of you, being a Jets fan and Jet coverage. What did you think about it from the fan point of view, and if you were covering it right now, DJ, of when the Mark Sanchez butt fumble happened?
You want me to go first? Because I remember where exactly.
Go first.
So I remember exactly when this play happened. I was watching this game, and the Jets were good. This was like Rex Ryan when they were like winning and going to the AFC Championship, like the glory years of being a Jets fan. And so this was a big game against the Patriots. I think the winner would have been first place in the AFC East, like late in November, I think it was. And dude, the Patriots just got out to a quick lead, like 32-0, like in the second quarter. And I'm still watching the game on my little TV in my bedroom with the DVD slot that you could press the button and you put the DVD in, about like 8 inches big. And my jaw just dropped. I'm like 13 years old. I'm like, what is going on? Next thing I know, Mark Sanchez just runs into DeBrickashaw Ferguson, I believe. I think that's who he ran into. No, he ran into the left guard. But anyway, that's when I turned the TV off. DJ, to you.
I think the way I would have covered it for sure would have been like kind of putting like the cherry on top just for like a disappointing, like I guess I won't say disappointing scene, but like I probably would have made it like a cider and just would have wrote about that and just would have had some fun with it. Obviously, that's not the reason why they were losing, or that's not the reason why like it turned into a blowout. But I for sure would have written about it in the sense of like they just couldn't get out their own way, you know. So,
because when I think of Jets football, that's probably one of the first things I think about, to be honest. Because I remember I was watching ESPN like about a year ago after it happened, and it was like it won worst play of the week for 52 weeks straight, so they had to retire it as the worst play ever because it kept winning worst play. 52.
Dude, and now Mark Sanchez, he's a broadcaster himself. He's not half bad. I think he covered the Jets game last week.
Yeah, no.
Maybe another game.
You see that in guys. Some guys are like, you see with coaching, some guys weren't that good as that player, but they're a better coach, vice versa. You see with analysts as well. DJ, I have one really good question I want to ask you. I asked Roland this a couple weeks ago on the last pod. So let's say that somehow, it's a hypothetical, obviously. Let's say somehow you win the lotto, right? And you buy the Jets franchise. What would be your game plan, and what would you do as the owner to make them a very consistently top level team in a 5 to 6 year period? Like, what would be the chess moves you'd make?
I'll try to get Zach some weapons, and obviously continue to build the trenches. So build the trenches, O-line, D-line. Try to get Zach some weapons, and obviously, Solid can still stay there. But like, I would just give Zach one more year to figure it out. And if he doesn't show those signs, I'll try to go get like a star quarterback. I'm trying to build a contender. You feel me? So that's basically what I would do.
Yeah, for sure.
I think so too. It's rough to play in New York. Like, I think if Wilson doesn't play well next year, he's going to get the boot just like Darnold. And like, Jets fans had a soft spot for Darnold. I know I was one of them. And it's not really the same feeling with Zach Wilson. Like, we're kind of over it. Like, it's either play or get out, like play well or get out. So I think he could be one and done next year too. That's a possibility for sure. For two and done.
You think it's Zach Wilson himself, or do you think it's the system? So like one thing Roland always says is he thinks that if Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson swapped positions, Trevor Lawrence would do much better than what Zach Wilson was doing right now with the Jets. Do you think it's himself, or do you think it's just the system he's in?
Yeah, I think Trevor would do better in this system, only because like he was more pro ready. He played against better competition. I think he's more physically gifted. Granted, obviously Zach still has elite arm talent, but I think Zach has a better overall system and situation around him, from coaching to players to O-line. So I think that both of them, they both have bad defenses, but overall, though, I think Trevor would have been a little bit better. How much better? Not too sure, but I do think like Trevor would have did better in this offense, because like Michael and over, I think it's Devin Bevel, the Jags offensive coordinator. So yeah, I kind of agree.
Yeah, they sent LaFleur up to the booth. He was on the field, I think, calling plays, and they sent him up to the booth, and then the Jets like offense magically started scoring points. So it was like all hail LaFleur in the booth. And so I think the coaching is decent around Zach Wilson. You know, he has all the opportunity in the world. It's just, can everything mold together? And it usually doesn't work out for the New York Jets, but you know, you got to stay optimistic.
It could with Zach. I think there's a chance it could work out.
No, for sure.
Oh,
yeah.
I think so too.
Yeah. People, and like I love what you said when you talked about like the Trevor Lawrences and the Joe Burrows, or not Trevor Lawrence, excuse me, the Joe Burrows and Justin Herberts. People forget that like this is a kid that just went to the NFL. Like this jump he's taking is enormous. It's not like an everyday. It's a much easier transition from high school to college than it is from college to the NFL. You know, you're playing against the absolute every single game. Even if you're playing the 0-16 Lions or whatever, they are the best in the world at what they do. You know,
Right.
and sometimes it takes a little bit of time to transition. And I feel like we live in a society, like a sports society, is like what I'm trying to say, where if it's not right now, we got to just move on and get a new guy. Like instead of you don't see teams as patient to develop nowadays, and you see it especially in the college level. But even this talk about Zach Wilson, like Jets fans already wanting to boot him and like stuff like that. He's a rookie, dude. Like he literally is like what 22 years old, 23 years old, like. It's going to take a little bit of time. It's not like he got put on the best team and just going to start hooping. Like he has to develop, and that's something that I really like that you said as well.
Yeah.
Completely. One thing I thought about today is, like, you know, in the English soccer leagues, they have like a tier system of professional rankings, and if you're like the bottom 3 in the league, you get relegated. And there's like 10 leagues. So like if you're in League 10 and you win 10 years in a row, you can make it up to the Premier League and play against Manchester United. I wonder where the Jets would be if that was the system in America. How many times they would get relegated? They'd be at like Division 6 football. Like, yeah, I don't know. I thought about that today. So that's pretty cool. I think that dynamic of how European and American sports works is pretty interesting. But
now
how like how we reward failure. Sorry, take it away.
So although you like you cover the Jets and you're a Dolphins fan, you're obviously a big football fan in general, you know. So as someone that's like followed and been especially like us, like, you know, the sports journalism side of journalism, what is one thing that you're starting to see that you think that we're seeing now with players going in from college to the NFL that makes it the transition easier now? Like what's something that they're doing now that's making them do better or transition better versus, you know, maybe 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
A lot of offenses, they run a lot more college. I mean, a lot of NFL offenses, they use a lot more college schemes to help quarterbacks out. Like the Dolphins right now, like they run a lot of RPO. Like they lead the league in like RPO plays. With Tua Tagovailoa, and that's one of his strengths. And that's basically a college, a college play. You know, obviously the Kansas City Chiefs use it too. The Eagles use it too. The Jets try to use it a little bit against the Dolphins to combat some of their blitzes. But RPOs, that's an example. But I think that's what makes it a little bit easier is that teams are using some of the college plays that these kids were using in college to help speed up their development.
Yeah, I think the science aspect to it too, and I feel like that's something that's very underlooked because it's become such a normality. Like it's normal for everyone to go lift weights, it's normal for everyone to have a personal trainer. But like if you think about it, like realistically, what my parents, they're in their 50s, when they were my age, people weren't working out. Trainers didn't exist. Like that wasn't a thing. You know, and now you're having kids that from a young age are learning how to properly lift. They're learning how to properly put nutrients into their body. They're learning how to properly gain the proper muscle. Like everything they do now is a science, you know, recovery. You know, back in the day, like my dad wasn't able to achieve the dreams he wanted to in baseball because his knees were blown out because they would do so many hard practices to strengthen your knees. Where back in the day, it's like, oh, you're just getting tougher. But in reality, you're weakening your muscle, you know, and now you're learning that. And I feel like that's a huge thing as well, as you're able to measure everything. You know, you see athletes with the breathing measurements, you see with the chambers with the iso cold stuff, you know. So like I feel like the science of it too is something that's definitely played a big role in the easier transition for college guys into the NFL.
Agreed.
But why is it every old like white grandpa is like, oh, back in the day, like if I didn't blow my knee out, I could have gone pro. Like my grandfather, like said he was signed with the Baltimore Orioles in like 1955 and like couldn't afford to live there on a contract. Like, I'm like, bro, come on, dude. You didn't play for the Orioles. So that's funny.
Now, what about on the Dolphins end? How do you think everything's going with them as a fan now, not as a someone that writes about them?
I mean, it's so perplexing for me because it's like, obviously they started 1-7, now they're 7-7. They're gonna play the Saints without Ian Book, so they should win that game. I mean, they're gonna play the Saints who start Ian Book because COVID took out Trevor Siemian and
Taysom
Taysom
Hill.
Hill.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So they might be 8-7 with a chance they could beat Tennessee, make the last game of the year a possible winning or end situation, just like last year. But I mean, overall, though, I've been impressed with how the defenses flipped from the struggles early in the year to now, where like now they can really overwhelm quarterbacks. It started with Lamar Jackson, and it's kind of continued throughout. But offensively, they do run more of an efficient dink and duck type of offense where they're trying to, this one sports reporter calls it tic-tac-toe offense, but they're just trying to be efficient and, pick up first downs and execute in key situations and try to hit big plays when it's there. Obviously last week they were able to overcome pretty below average performance from Tua with a very strong running game. But I mean, overall, I've been content. Let's go to word content with what I've seen from them. Commander Day, talk about wins and losses, and they've won 6 in a row, so I gotta give credit. So I think if Tua doesn't get hurt, the season's a lot different. They're probably legitimately in the thick of things. Wild card ride or wise instead of outside in. I think they'll probably be like at the worst, like 8-6. Because I don't think they lose 4 games in the 4 games that he was out, the Buffalo game, the Raiders game, the Colts game, and the Bucks. I don't think they lose all of them in a row. I think they do lose the majority of them, but I don't think they lose all of them. I think they probably could have won the Raiders game and probably win the Colts game because the Colts were 0-3 at the time. But yeah, I do think that Falcons game and that Jags game is going to bite them in the butt though at the end. So, but overall though, I've been content with their progress that they've made this year.
Yeah, I think the Dolphins, to start the year, they were like a playoff team that was, likely to make the playoffs or at least be in contention. They might have been even favorites to win the East, behind the Bills. So when they started the season, like what, 1-7 did they start? 1-6?
They started 1-7.
1-7. I know my good friend Tucker, who's like a diehard Dolphins fan, he was just all doom and gloom, and so it's like crazy to see how they've turned it around and won 6 in a row. So, I mean, I'm not happy about it, but it is what it is,
Yeah, and like you said, the first time I really saw the defense as well was that Baltimore game, because they just, dude, it was like Lamar didn't know what to do. It was like, usually he gets in a situation, his feet get him out, or he'll use his feet to set up his arm. Like he couldn't do anything, bro. Like it was one of the few times I could truthfully say I watched Lamar Jackson just like not know what to do, so that's definitely got to be a good sign, especially if you're a Dolphins fan. You're muted still.
Oh, who's your team?
So I'm a Tampa Bay boy, born and raised.
Okay, so
So before I hear anybody say any bandwagon stuff, all right, we had 16 years of nothing before we got this. Okay, so it's been a long ride. It's been a very long ride.
No, see, I respect that. Tampa Tom, I still. Words can't describe my hatred for Tom Brady even still to this day. I wonder how many times he's beaten the Jets, maybe 40.
Who hasn't beaten that much though is the Saints, bro. They have him figured out, dude. They really do.
Yeah, but it's not like he played them twice a year like he did. Whoop on them every time.
He does play them twice a year.
But yeah, I think
he plays the Saints twice.
Well, now he does.
Yeah.
I know. Yeah, no, but is he 44 or is he turning 44?
He's 44 right now.
Yeah.
Holy,
And
how long do you
I
think he
believe
plays
he has
for? How
one
many
more
more
year on his
seasons?
contract, right? He signed a 3-year.
Yep.
Yeah, he's got one more year too. That's crazy, dude. That's crazy.
44, dude, because he drinks like raw duck egg milk and like he's got his own Gatorade on the sidelines. Like he's got
Yeah.
his own electrolyte drink. Like
Wait,
the dude's a super health freak.
now going back to the journalism aspect, DJ. So obviously you went and ran track at Louisville. Did you know before that too, like you wanted to go this route with the sports journalism? Like when did that start
Yeah.
becoming a thought in your head?
Yeah, I knew I wanted to go to sports journalism when I was like 14 years old, but I thought it would be more like a broadcaster. But after I graduated college, University of Louisville, I started working. I was working at iHeartRadio, and I was talking a little bit of Louisville athletics, and I wrote a little bit. I wrote a little bit for this website, so I was doing a little bit of blogging stuff. So I wrote a couple of features. The features weren't any good, but I compared them now. But I was doing what I had to do. Um, I just knew that writing would be the best lane for me. It's not the best lane for everybody. Everybody likes to write, but I knew writing was the best lane for me. Most specifically, the one challenge I do like is the responsibility that comes with being a writer. You know what I'm saying? Like people, they can pull up your receipts a lot easier, and I like that challenge because it challenges me to make sure that I'm, on point for the most part. Obviously you're not gonna be 100. You're not gonna be perfect. It's virtually impossible to be perfect. But just to make sure that you know what the hell you're talking about. Um, so I just felt like being a sports writer was the best lane for me, in all honesty. So um, that's the that's where I wanted to go. I tried a little bit of radio, and I thought about doing being a TV reporter, which is funny because like I want to transition into TV, as kind of like a sideline reporter or like a sideline reporter or even like just a TV reporter overall, similar to like Kimberly Martin or Cameron Wolf or people like that, but like NFL Network or ESPN or whatever. But overall, though, I knew writing was going to be my ticket to be able to get to those things that I now am approaching to do.
Yeah, that's funny you say that because that's how I am too. I like the writing aspect of journalism. I think there's nothing cooler than going out and doing your own investigative reporting and then doing like a feature story or a profile on someone like that. And I've written for like when you got out of school though, was it like a grind? Because like I've done some stuff like where I've written for some publications like in New Mexico in some small county, like I've got some articles out there that I've written for like $50, you know what I mean? So for a lot of like people that are coming out with journalism degrees, it's kind of like a grind because I don't know, some people argue that, journalism school is like antiquated and it's so different with the internet and everything. What's your take on all of that?
Yeah, I mean, you can get in either way, but it all comes down to experience. So whichever way you can get your experience. So yeah, it is a grind. I mean, this should be days where, because I mean, obviously, you say you're making like $50 per like article for like a New Mexico paper or whatever, and I was what was I doing when I was doing my blog stuff? I was making like 15 per article, and like I had to, so like I didn't end up having to get like a regular job too, along with still doing some on air stuff because on air stuff was for free basically. But yeah, some days I would like go my actual job like on a Saturday from like 8 to 12 and then go cover a game after, where whoever Louisville was playing, because they'll play like around 12, cover that. And after that, do Uber or Lyft to make some extra coins or whatnot. So it can be a grind. But a lot of it just comes out to experience. The more experience you have, the quicker you can shorten that quote unquote grind where you feel like there's no hope in a weird way.
So like say like a kid just graduated high school, right? Like he's going to school, he's not going to be an athlete or anything, but he wants to take the route that you took, because in an aspect or like in a sense, you're working a lot of kids' dreams jobs. You're covering an NFL team and writing for
Right.
a prestigious company like the New York Daily News. What would your advice be to that kid? Like, what would you tell him, like, on his journey to possibly get to where you're at, or maybe a little bit lower, a little bit higher? Like, what would you recommend, and what would you say to avoid? Like, if you just had to sit down with, like, even like an 18-year-old version of yourself, like, what would you tell yourself? Like, what would be
Yeah.
the path you guide yourself on?
So I would say, whenever you, so my situation is a little bit different because, I went to, before I got to Louisville, I was at a few junior colleges playing football. So I think what I would have told myself after I was done with JUCO is I would have told myself to go to Ohio State. Try to take the summer class and go to Ohio State instead of Louisville because they had a journalism program. So what I would say to 18-year-old is like go to a school that has a good, just journalism program that also has a way for you to write for the school paper, or they can set you up with some internships to build the experience. A lot of this shit just comes down to experience. Like that's what a lot of it comes down to. Because people aren't going to hire you if they don't see, for the most part, they don't see that you've been able to do the stuff. Because, like, I won't say like the job is easy. I won't say that, but it's very doable. So you just got to make sure that you hire. They're going to want to hire people that can make sure they do the little things and can handle the work or whatnot. But yeah, I would say go to school that's a good journalism program and write the school paper or write for a blog. Just get those clips. And even if you do write for a blog, make sure that you can write some human interest stories and actually story tell, and not just write about like, oh well, this team lost or this team won or whatnot. Like the way to elevate is to be able to show people that you're capable of storytelling at a very high level.
Right.
That's what helped me get my job because beyond just the Black Lives Matter story that I wrote about some other human interest stories regarding a girl that lost her that she moved to Florida from New York because her grandma passed, and she was playing basketball. She moved because her grandma was dying or whatnot, but she passed. I wrote about that. Wrote about this one athlete that his name is Daquan Stanley. He just wrote about his upbringing, how it was kind of he went through some adversity. Being able to write about that versus just being able to write about because anybody can write, okay, this team won, here's why, boom. Okay, that's pretty easy. It's right being able to write the investigative stories or being able to write the feature stories, and you can get that whether you're blogging or working at a school paper. You just got to be able to make sure that you check those boxes because those are the boxes that you're going to show employers how you can show employers that you want to work for, that you can do the job because that's what they're looking for.
Yeah, so that's actually funny, like that you said the experience aspect and like getting it. That's actually why we started this podcast. Was I met with some pretty high up working guys in like ESPN and CBS Sports due to my dad teaching their children, and they all said they were like start like they didn't really like guide me in the podcast aspect, but they were like start like getting a video of you talking about sports every single day. Like that, what that's gonna do is you might not have the highest GPA or like the best degree coming out of FAU or like university and Ivy League, but like when I do my interview or I do anything, I could pull these up and I can show them like I have experience working with a time segment. I have experience working in front of a camera and stuff. So we kind of started, me and Roland kind of started this more for like a resume portfolio, and then it just started taking off, and we started loving it. So now it's kind of it's a 2-for-1. Like we're able to use it for the benefits of a business, but we're also able to just have fun and interact with guys that like sports like you, and even some like pretty good athletes as well.
Yeah, man, like that experience stuff goes a lot further than a degree ever could. Like
I
way
think so too,
than a degree.
because I did actually this one feature piece I think I wrote. It was Hurricane Maria in Puerto Rico, and I was on spring break in Puerto Rico, and I could speak Spanish because I took Spanish in college, but now I can't really speak it anymore. So I would interview all these locals, and it was like so cool. But I did it like during spring break, and what's the point I'm trying to make here? I don't even know. I'm going off on a tangent, but
Experience over degree.
yeah, the experience thing. But like you got to put, as a journalist, you have to put yourself out there into to some uncomfortable situations, and I think that it's something that not everyone can do, just to like talk to a random person. It's hard for some people, easy for others. So
Well, yeah, and also like when it goes to like your job or like what we're trying to do is like eventually work with professional athletes or like high college level. It's for one of them to want to talk to someone, they'd way rather talk to someone that's more down to earth and has been talking to people for years rather than some kid that graduated with a super good degree, but he can't have a conversation, you know? And I feel like that's in our field of work. It's one of those few field of work where comfortability and experience sometimes outweigh the degree itself, although the degree still benefits.
Absolutely. I think being personable is the most important aspect, because then when you tell these bigger stories, these people will be more willing to open up, you know, and tell you certain things going on that got helped get them to that point. So being personable, relatable. Like when I was coming to high school, like I used to go to high school practices, like track practices, and just hang out with the kids and just chop it up with them, you know, and just chop it up with the coaches and go to track meets and just hang out with them. You know what I'm saying? Like not on some like stalker or big brother, or just being like a human.
Mm-hmm.
And I think sometimes we can, you know, you want to avoid being robotic. And overall, that's probably the biggest trait you can have. Everything else is developed. You can develop everything else. You can develop. You can develop, become a better writer, a better interviewer. You can become a better guy on camera. All those things are easier to develop than somebody that can't be personable, like at all, like at all. Like I remember when I was, cause my high school trainer, his name is Nick Hicks. He now trains NFL guys, so I'll still like, you know, swing by his workout sessions and whatnot, not to work out, but just to hang out and watch people work out and things like that, and just try to pick players' brains. And Rashad Perriman, former Jet, was there, and I remember the first time that I came across him, I was just chilling, like, you know, I wasn't like, cause when they working out, I'm on my business, I'm just watching, and like he came up to me, he was like, I heard that, you know, you cover the Jets now. This was earlier in the year. He was already done with the Jets. I think he was with the Lions now. And he was like, oh, yeah, you know, she got the gig. Like, man, that's major, man, you know. And then we were just having a conversation, and he was like, that's a trait that's really like good about you that I can already peep, is that you and me were just having this regular conversation. It's not awkward. We're just, you know, just shooting the shit. Yeah, some guys can't do that. Like it gets really awkward really fast.
Mm-hmm.
So that's probably the best trait, man, is being able to be personable, you know, be able to find common ground with, you know, a lot of these athletes, you know, find out things that they like beyond just the sport that they play. You know, these guys like things like they like music. Some like Ty Johnson, the running back for the Jets. He loves anime. I'm not the biggest anime fan, but I love Dragon Ball Z, which is also anime.
Oh, that's the only anime I like too. That's Dragon Ball Z is the shit, bro.
Exactly. So like we'll talk about that all the time. Like I remember when Zach came off an injury, I mentioned to him, I asked him, is Zach coming back like you know, when Goku was on Planet Namek and was in the recovery chamber? He was like, I already knew what you were talking about. Yeah, man, it's just like that. You know,
the hyperbolic time chamber. Yeah,
you know, and I remember like same with like Carl Lawson. I'm just asking him like, you're a big anime fan. Who's the strongest anime guy? He's like, yeah, you know, Goku, but you know, he's like really in anime, like he'll critique, like he's a critic.
Well, so is Jamal Williams for the Lions too.
Yeah,
he's like super anime, like super.
Yeah.
Anime.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So you know, it's things like that, and obviously music, or obviously like, you know, just other things that people are into. You know, you can talk food or whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
So it's find interest beyond just the sports.
Yeah,
so,
I think that goes with the robotic stuff you were saying as well. Is like, you know, you get some people that one reason they don't do so well in the journalism field is because they fantasize too much over these players, and they forget sometimes like they're people too, you know. And one of the coolest things that I've learned, like just even like from life, like regardless of the profession, I think from this podcast is like everyone is so much more similar than you think. Like, yeah, they're such high level athletes and stuff, but they still like they love eating at Chipotle. They love seeing the new Spider-Man movie. You know, they love kicking it with their family. Like, and that's one thing I love. One thing I really gained a respect for when I came into this field of work is like, you're able to enjoy a conversation with people. You're able to realize people are more. They're not like everything you see on TV where it's all publicized. Like everyone's a lot more like each other than we think. You know, and that's something that's cool. Like even sitting down and talking with you today, just having a hour-long conversation is awesome. You know, it's something that I forget, like a lot of people are forgetting are good things we can do every day.
Yeah, man, remember one really cool conversation I had. I was with Jack Gruden at the Bucks game, and Colt McCoy just walked out. It was a preseason game, and I was like sitting on the bench, and Colt McCoy just walked out, and he was like, "Howdy," and like me and Colt McCoy just like chopped it up for 20 minutes, and I was like, "Did I just really just talk to Colt McCoy?" Like it was like kind of crazy, but like, you know, that at that moment I kind of realized these guys that like we admire in society and pop culture, they're kind of, you know, they're all human too, you know, these sports stars or these celebrities or whatever. So like at that moment, that's when I kind of like that fanboy thing in me kind of like, you know, stopped. So
But yeah, I mean, that's everything I got. DJ,
yeah.
thank you so much for coming on, man. We're forever grateful that you could come on and appreciate you. Um, we'll make sure to tag you on the Instagram, make sure everyone gets your information so they can start following you and see the amazing work that you do. And thank you again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it.
No problem. You guys have a great afternoon. Now I'm going to go write about Zach and have fun with that, I guess.
Yeah,
Yeah, man.
Hey,
We'll
happy
read your
holidays to
article.
you. Happy holidays to all of our listeners. Thank you guys. And let's go Jets, baby.
JETS. All right.